Welcome back, everyone. This is episode 41. We continue our conversation with Chris. Chris, thank you so much for being open. Thank you for sharing your story. It's just wow. I mean, it's you definitely had us by the edge of our seats, and we'd like to hear more. What happens when you meet that lady in the club?
Yeah, Chris, you mentioned something of identity, and when we don't have an identity, we'll just take anything to help find that identity. And that so often leads us to broken places of despair. And one thing that's clear, until we find our identity in Christ, we're always searching. Even at the advance we discussed on the back porch, what is manhood? What is being a man?
Yeah.
You guys remember that when we're sitting on the back? And there's so many guys searching for that. And we are on mission to help men find who they are in Christ when they basically have a heart to love and serve well. If you can pick it up from here, for guys that are listening, identify with your story to help them find a way out of the dark place. But let's go ahead, pick it up from here, and how this is starting to really fall fast. Okay, you're in this club, you meet this lady, she introduces you to crystal meth. Take it from there, man.
It's kind of interesting, because I never really enjoyed cocaine. I just didn't enjoy it. But that night I had actually done cocaine. And little did I know that she had done crystal meth. And we went back to my house and we both laid there like we were both asleep. We were both still awake all night. But I got to know her, and over time there happened to be a moment where I don't remember exactly where we were, but I was working at Bennigan's at that time, and started hanging out. And I was not smoking weed. I was actually doing pretty good. I was pretty proud of myself on that. Was I attending church at this moment? I do not remember that well. I don't think so. Maybe here and there, hit and miss once again. And we were on a back street in a Mercedes-Benz, and they whipped it out. And first time I hit it, it was like complete ecstasy. Complete. Like, sin is sin because it feels good. Yeah. Right?
For a season.
Yeah, sin feels good. That's why we need God to deliver us from certain things, because according to the flesh, it fulfills that desire that the flesh has. My desire was to escape. My desire was to feel good. My desire was to change the way I was thinking, and it did it instantly. And then you tell me that I'm not going to fail a drug test as long as I stop 2 days before? Oh, this is for me.
Sure.
Yeah, this is for me. So once again, the same concept of the weed is what was once every 3-4 days grew to every day.
Yeah,
it grew to every day, and I bounced from restaurant to restaurant, keeping a job for a little bit, and then during this whole time, I'm peddling stuff as well, because that's what you do when you want to be accepted again. I want to be the quarterback because I want to be seen as the head, right? And I want to be the guy who you come to get what you need. Right? Yeah. It's that feeding that identity crisis. So it became every day, and I was skipping parole. I would show up, and they would say, "Okay, go downstairs to a UA." Because at this point now, what I used to think was a good thing because I could just stop 2 days before and not fail was I can't even stop. I'm riding the parole on it now. Okay, go down to floor 3 and take your UA, and I would just go right by floor 3 and wouldn't stop. Just leave. And so parole officer started getting wind of it, and then I stopped going to parole. And it was awkward. I mean, I even got arrested coming from a pool hall, and I had methamphetamines on me, and I went to jail for that charge, but they let me out. So that's my second felony, possession of controlled substance. And so then trying not to get lost here, but I'm on parole. At this point, I'm burning every bridge that I have. From starting with my friends, from my outer circle, and slowly ending up to the one that I love the most, my mom. I mean, if I was talking to you, it's to get something from you. And if I cannot get nothing from you, then we have nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
Period.
And that's a spiraling of drug use.
Yeah.
When it starts possessing your life, and you've got to get more to feed this addiction. So what happens here? Is this your last stint with prison or jail, or what's?
Well, so just to give you that quick rundown is, let's go ahead and fast forward. What started off as smoking in the glass, now I'm putting in a needle, and I'm putting it in my arm.
Yeah.
On a regular basis. And I'm hanging around with people that are just dark. I know there's some jewels in there just like I was, because I knew I was God's in there, and he was protected. It's funny, I used to actually almost get into fights talking to people about Jesus in the dope house. I mean, how foolish is that? But so I fast forward to that, and I'm committing crimes at this point to support my habit. I went from I'd gamble, shoot dice, be in the strip club. New friend here and there, all the time. Hanging around guys that don't trust me. They know they can't trust me, but they're around me because they know, because I'm cool to be around. Like, I have a cool personality, but like, dang, Chris, you gonna burn me again? Yeah. You know, like, it's just the cycle. Wow. One time I actually called my brother, and bless his heart, I actually said, hey man, I'm ready to go to rehab. Come get me, take me to rehab. He comes and picks me up from the hotel that I've been in for a week. Mind you, this time I'm still playing semi-pro football. I have a team that calls me and says, hey, we got a game tomorrow. I said, man, I've been up all night. Come on, we got a game tomorrow. I need you to play. I have no pad. That's okay. I'll bring you what you need. Okay, whatever. Yeah. And they come pick me up in the mornings.
Wow.
So at this time, my ankle is twisted because they gave me a size 11.5 cleats when I wear 13s.
Yeah.
I rolled my ankle. I'm sitting in a hotel with my ankle twisted on the bed, getting high.
Oh my!
I told my brother I'm ready to go. He comes and picks me up, takes me all the way downtown, and I won't get out the car. He said, "Okay, you're gonna get out the car when I get where I'm going." I said, "No, I'm not." We get to where he's going. He said, "Get out the car." I said, "No." He said, "I'm calling police." I got out the car, and so I'm basically homeless, you know. And so I what I started doing, I'm not like this. I'm a nice guy. I'm a big heart guy. I'm not this super rough or willing to like, hey, give me your money, like, or you know, I'm not gonna grab you and like try to fight you. I'm like tricky, like scary. Really, I'm a coward. Yeah, that's how I was. I'm trying to manipulate you. How can I do it without any resistance? Because I don't like confrontation. So how can I do this? How can I get over on you without any resistance? And so I started doing this thing where I was going into places and giving notes and saying, give me the money. I have a gun. Never had a gun. Yeah. Fast forward, on the fourth place I did that to, they had a gun.
Oh, man.
And so I did what I did. Turned my back. Pow. And all I knew was I'm shot. I need to get out of here.
Oh, man.
Before I fall or whatever, I don't want to get caught. I don't want it to end like this. So I take off running. And then, long story short, of course, I dropped everything. I got away, and they found what I dropped, and they knew it was me. You know. So, a couple weeks later, maybe a couple months later, I am at a girl's house who I just met and talked her into taking the guy who was living in her home so it can be me and her living there. So she leaves. I go inside, put a needle in my arm, roll up a joint, go outside. Neighbors call the cops because they don't know who I am. I go back inside, cops show up, I get arrested. Possession of controlled substance, 4th felony, along with robbery by threat, 5th felony.
Well, Chris, so what would you describe as the bottom?
That moment.
That sounded. So hold on, where's the bullet at this time?
Well, so it grazed me.
Oh, okay.
I forgot about that. But yeah, okay. He was aiming for my head. Thank the Lord that he did not hit me. He's up here. I have a scar on my arm if I didn't have this jacket on. It's where the bullet grazed me. It was bleeding. We went to a Casa Olay and ordered chips and water and sat there. I'm sweating like, oh my God. You know, I wonder what that waitress was thinking. So
what's the bottom looking like, to Marek's question?
So boom, boom, boom. Knock on the back door, right? Cops. I got swim trunks on. No shoes, no shirt. I walk back there. He calls the lady. I move quick. He calls the lady who owns the place. Hey, this guy's here. Because I got a burglary charge. They're probably like, this guy, does he have permission to be here? And she said, yes, he does. Well, we're taking him down anyway because he has a warrant for his arrest. Okay. It was like when those handcuffs went on my wrist. I was free as I've ever been.
Wow.
It was at that moment God met me and said, okay, things changed today.
Wow.
I got you. Because I've been crying out, Lord.
Yeah.
I've been crying, Lord, I want to stop. Please stop me. And that's why I have a heart. That's why when I hear people say, well, you need just, when someone's struggling with an addiction, or I walk downtown and see these people that you would call loony, how did they get there? You know, we think that they just need to do this and do this and do that, and they can release that addiction. It's not that easy. It's a bond. It's a chain that the Lord has to break. And it was like that day the Lord said, it changes today. And so it was like when the handcuffs, I always say this when I share my testimony, we just went into the prisons last weekend. When the handcuffs went on my wrist, I was free.
Okay, so they arrest you. Or where are you going and how long are you there?
Go down to county because of violation of parole. I get visited by 2 detectives. It takes about 2 minutes because I want to be right with the Lord. We found this. Did you do that? Yes, I did that. Yes, I did that. Okay. So I go to court once again. We don't have money, so I can't get a lawyer. They came back with 6 years. I was like, okay. Thought it was going to be a lot worse.
Wow.
I'll take 6 years. Court appointed lawyer. So from that day, I was doing Bible studies. I was doing prayer calls. I was reading books. I was writing letters. I mean, I was full-fledged into the Lord in an environment that I could not be influenced by drugs, that I could not be influenced by women, there was like some violence going on, but I knew how to stay away from that because I don't like confrontation. I do have the gift of becoming who you want me to be, so I could, which is not a good gift. But I'm just saying, in some circumstances, it'll get you out of trouble. And so, I mean, after, I believe, 6 months, I had my case. They gave me 6 years, and I was off the TDC. And so I ended up doing 4 years on that 6-year sentence.
Out of curiosity, doing all those drugs, now all of a sudden cold turkey. Withdrawals or no?
When you're dealing with the drug that I was doing, I slept for like 3-4 days because there would be days where I was up for 3-4 days on drugs. So I was just extremely tired.
But so there's really not an addiction in the sense of like withdrawals having to go through it?
It's not like heroin. Heroin's a whole different ball game. And that's one drug that I never really ventured into, but a whole different ball game.
Okay. So now you're in prison and you're taking advantage of the opportunity of going, okay, this is what I wanted. I wanted to be free of drugs. I've got to fill this void in my life with Jesus. And this is pretty much what you're doing for 4 years before you're released. Is that right?
Correct. 100%.
What did you learn about yourself in that span of 4 years? Like when you look back and you're sitting in prison, in your cell, on your bunk, wherever, what are you thinking about your life?
Well, I believe like with any believer that's chasing after God, that if I don't stay in the day, I can become very discouraged. So each day it was like a piece of the onion was being peeled back through circumstances happening in prison. So I feel like God would like allow something to happen. I would see my response and I would take it to the Lord. Like, Lord, I'm being very envious right now. You allowed me to witness to this young man who was over here looking at dirty magazines. I think he was probably in the gang. And I have now seen him transform into someone that's leading the church. And I'm envious of how fast you moved in his life. Okay, let's deal with that then. So it just like different circumstances would come across. Or the fact that you make commissary. I didn't get any money on my books. I can't make commissary. And I'm bent out of shape of that. When they provide 3 meals, they provide everything I need. So God knows how much I can handle. And so he would address, and he still is every day. He's addressing piece by piece in my life. And I can get overwhelmed if it's too much and I'm in the flesh. So it's hard to pinpoint exactly what I was focusing on then.
All you did, it was like, okay, God, I just need Jesus. I just need God. I just need Jesus. That was pretty much it. And whatever that looked like.
Reading books, reading the Bible daily, trying to pray, making sure I'm hanging around with those who are seeking God. Because in prison, it's like, I've heard this saying before that God allows us to fall on our back so we have nowhere to look but up. And you have a whole bunch of guys who are there 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years. And those that truly serve God in there are some of the most on fire Christians I've ever met in my life.
I've met some
in my life, man. Because they don't care. Let me out, don't let me out. I don't care. I'm serving Jesus.
Because they're free.
Yeah.
They're free in their spirit, their soul. Yeah. So we're going to wind this one down. We've only got a few minutes left here, and we're going to set this up. So you spent 4 years. You're pursuing Christ. You're kind of probably coming to peace with who you are now, your identity issues, and you're about to be set free. Mm-hmm. So we're going to pick it up in the next episode from there. We've got a couple minutes.
Sure. If I could ask a question, I was curious, how was your relationship with your family when you were in prison, with your mom?
That's a great question, man. That was another tough area in my walk through where God grew me in. But I was very selfish. That was another thing God revealed to me. Even now, after being out, when I go in and guys expect me to write all the time, you never realize how long it takes to stop what you're doing in this busy world and write someone in prison. It takes a while. But I thought it was wrong. They weren't visiting me. They weren't writing me. Where's the money on my books? And, that's the type of mentality I had, even though I didn't relay it to them as much because I didn't want to add any stress. But inside it was like that. But I had great support. They would send me pictures. They would write me consistently because they loved me. It's just that I got to a point in life where they had to finally back away. Yeah. Change happened in my life, and my mom will be okay with me saying this the day she stopped enabling me.
Isn't that beautiful? It's going to be powerful next episode.
Yeah.
Because I can't wait to hear the conclusion to this one. Yeah. So real briefly, on the advance that we participated in, what was God speaking to you during that time? First weekend of January. What did you come away with that God put in your heart?
That I still have a lot to work on.
Yeah.
I still have a lot to be delivered or to take to Him to work through. Because going to a place where I hardly knew anyone, I began to see that desire for approval again rise up.
Oh, interesting.
All these years later, it's still there.
So it interfered. I'm sure it played an interference role with receiving some of what was there to receive. But really just for me it was just learning to be okay with where I stand and what my view on things are, and still be around another group of men that are on fire for God and want to see men be men, right?
Yeah, interesting.
So, it was a challenge, it was a challenge.
But that's what God had for you. Like when I talked to different men who participated, it was all different things.
Yeah.
Very different. And yet for you it was the realization of where God is still wanting to affirm a work in your life, or where He's still freeing you from, right? How interesting.
Yeah.
And that in and of itself is powerful. A realization of here's a vulnerability that if I don't address it, it's going to create havoc in relationships down the road.
Right.
And so we go, thank you, Lord, for making that real in my life.
Yeah.
Powerful. Well, Chris, great talking with you. I can't wait to hear the third and final episode of where you're at today and how God brought you here. Marek, any closing thoughts?
Well, again, Chris, thank you so much for being open. It just, as you were sharing, to me, just a classic example how there's always that pull between shame and freedom, and it's like whether, in your case, whether you're a kid or even at your age right now, it always goes back to that same choice. And it's just so much easier to make the right choices when you're in the right group. Just like you mentioned, you don't blame your environment. But having said that, now that you pick your environment much more carefully, it's so much easier to make those choices.
Right. It's similar to maybe, what's the scenario? An engine with no oil or less oil is going to have more problems than an engine that's lubricated correctly, right?
Yeah.
And so how are my friends influencing the Spirit of God inside of me? Are they drying up the effectiveness of Christ to me? Are they lubricating?
Yeah. Well, I think the scriptures in Proverbs is pretty clear when it says that bad company corrupts good character or good nature, and who we hang out with influences us.
Correct.
That's why I like hanging out with you guys.
Yes. Yes.
Love you all.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Chris, and talk to you in a bit next episode.
Okay.